Okay, now you've learned how to put the prompt together, but now you're going to learn how to put it as a prime, which means you only have to do it once. You're basically putting the foundations for the whole conversation into Chat GPT. So let's start with the very first one. Again, I'm pasting it in because my typing is not good enough. So I've said, throughout this conversation, I want you to act as an experienced direct response copywriter who has been tasked with writing a sales letter for a new physiotherapist. Do you understand? This is important because you're going to get a response back from ChatGPT. If so, just say yes. It says, yes, I understand. As an experienced direct response copywriter, I will help you write a sales letter for a new physiotherapist. And then it asks me for the details. We're not going to give the details yet. It says, please provide me with any necessary information about the physiotherapist, their service, and their target audience. It's already started to understand what it would need as a role of a direct response copywriter. So it already knows the kind of questions it's expecting already. Let's provide a little bit more meat on the bone. I've asked it, I will also provide you with a target market for which I will create a customer persona, which I will call Physio John. Do you understand? Yes, I understand. Please go ahead and provide me with the details of your target market. Again, it's asking the same kind of questions that a good copywriter, a good direct response copywriter would ask. So details of your target market and the customer persona, Physio John. So now we've got a name. So we now don't need to start referring to target markets, etc. Physio John. And we need to put details for Physio John in, obviously, because the chat GPT has asked us. But let's see if we can refine it a little bit more. Okay, let's try this. I will also give you all the features of the physiotherapy practice so you can convert them into benefits and match them to Physio John's problems and pains. And the one thing I did forget to do was to give my imaginary physiotherapist a name. So I've chosen Agile Body, which I think is quite good, and I've told ChatGPT to use that as the name of the physiotherapist. Okay, so this session is now primed. ChatGPT has all the base information to make things much easier for us in the future. So we'll now move on to the third principle of good prompts, which is iteration, or not accepting the first answer. Let's show you how you can change the answers you get, because you don't want to accept the first one. It isn't always the right one. Now, the first thing you can do is simply press regenerate response. Now, I've actually done this by accident because this will give you, the corner in here will give you the number of responses you've got. So because I've done that, I'm going to remind you that before you generate a response, if there's something about the response you still like and it isn't complete rubbish, always copy it, because then you can copy and paste it later on. Anyhow, just to show you what it is, it's as simple as that. You just press regenerate response, and you see we're now on 3 of 3, of course, and it changes it slightly. Now, what you can also do is change parts of that response, so you can add a sentence, you can change a sentence or ask it to change a sentence. So let's see if we can pick a sentence out that looks quite. There we go. Try this one. It's fairly straightforward, isn't it? So we copy that, paste it in here, and I'll stop it here while I type the rest of it. There we go. Just please rewrite the following sentence. I've literally taken it out. So there might be a sentence that just isn't right for you or just doesn't seem correct. It's turned out better. So instead of feeling energized and alive after physical activity, so instead of experiencing the invigorating rush of energy and vitality that physical activity used to bring, you're now left grappling with the agonizing grip of stiffness, soreness, and a constant reminder of the limitations that hold you back. But you see the difference that's made just by asking it to change one single sentence. It's great, isn't it? And look how quickly it responded. Imagine the time it would take to ask a copywriter to rewrite simple sentences and paragraphs. Now, here's another trick that is going to blow your mind, this one, and I have to admit, I can't claim credit for this. This was a guy called Martin Avis, copywriter and marketer over in the UK, who gave me this idea. So, see, what you can do is you can actually ask ChatGPT to critique your work based on the fact that it's a direct response copyright, or it's acting as a direct response copywriter. Okay, so what I've written down is, in your role as a successful direct response copywriter, can you give me 5 things that are wrong about the paragraph that begins, "Do you remember the days when you could?" which of course is the very first paragraph. Here we go, there we go. And let's see what he comes back with. Look at this. So it now tells me the answer that it gave me was wrong. Brilliant, isn't it? Which means that you can then ask it, of course, to correct the mistakes. So all you need to do is say, can you rewrite the paragraph correcting these faults? But let's just make sure it does what it says it does. Let's pick one out. So we've got lack of specific target audience. It doesn't specifically address the intended target audience of over 50s, the original paragraph. So let's see if it actually, when it corrects itself, does it correct itself correctly? You know what I mean? It hasn't. So the first thing we were looking for was the target market, and it's changed it. Look, it's followed its own rules by correcting itself. Now, another thing you could do with copy is you can ask it to write in a specific style. So for example, if you wanted to rewrite the paragraph in the style of a famous copywriter, the first thing you would do is you would ask ChatGPT if it understood the works of that copywriter. So I've asked it, is it familiar with the copywriter Dan Kennedy? A very famous direct response copywriter. Yes, it is. So I'm going to ask it now to rewrite the paragraph, but one thing I would get in the habit of doing, because occasionally it confuses paragraphs, is tell it which paragraph that you want it to rewrite. So I've just basically taken the first few words out of it. So let's see what happens. Now it does sound like Dan Kennedy. I mean, I don't know if you're familiar with Dan Kennedy, but he is a very well-known, well-respected copywriter, and he does have a certain style about him. And to be honest, that's great. You see what can be achieved when you don't take the first answer. And you could also change it. You can add humour. You could change the tone to conversational. You can make it serious. It really depends what you want to do. But the overriding factor is that you don't always have to you don't always have to take the first response. Now, there's an awful lot more to come, as you can imagine, but here's the thing. You've gone from maybe not fully understanding ChatGPT and certainly not grasping the power of properly constructed prompts to this. You've gone from a boring... Let me scroll up to see where we started. Oops. You've gone from a boring, basic, corporate-level, bland attempt at a sales letter. We are thrilled to introduce you to an exceptional edition, etc., etc., to this highly emotionally charged piece of copy. And although we've been together in this lesson for 20 minutes, I think, you can probably do this yourself now in a few minutes. So you've already improved where you are. And talking about time, the next session you're going to learn how to shave hours or even days off the most laborious part of copywriting, which is the research. So see you over there.